Welcome to Happier Childhoods, a podcast about movement, play, connection, and the grown-up work of supporting kids. I'm Carrie, social worker and founder of Play Motion Kids. And around here, we talk about practical ways adults can help create healthier, happier childhoods. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. This is Carrie. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I am super excited to introduce you to Justyna Bronski. She is a certified teen life coach, former high school instructional leader with over 15 years in education. She now works with teens and parents to build confidence, helping young people feel understood, supported, and empowered during some of the most formative but also difficult years that we know as the teen years. So thank you so much, Justyna, for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I'm well. I'm very excited for today's conversation.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. We're just going to go for it. So when you think about teenagers and your work with teenagers, what is the very first thing that you think people misunderstand about teens in general?
I think, I have experience as a teacher and connection with teens. That was something that came very natural to me. And I knew that, I have this special connection and people were asking me like, what are you doing differently? Like, what is that something that it's in your classroom and it's not in mine? And even parents were asking me many times this question. And I actually reflected on that. And I was thinking like, wow, I don't really know what it is. So that was kind of like a natural gift. And I was always curious what it is that I'm doing. So this is when I got inspired and I really started doing research and I learned so many skills and tools from coaching. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. There's a name for it. And this. And that was amazing because then I realized that I'm not only able to do it with teens, but now when I have these frameworks, when I know exactly what are the steps, I can actually teach it to others. And based on my experience with teens in school, I knew that the families are disconnected. It's extremely difficult for parents to reach their kids. So I thought that I have something, I have gift that I definitely want to share it with people who need them the most, which are the parents and the teacher. So that one thing that I would love to share with parents is the fact that connection, it's not something that you are born with. It's actually a skill and you can learn that. So if your family feel disconnected, it's not like your family is failing. It's just, you just need to learn a skill that will bring all of you together. So just bringing that, that hope that, everything is possible and we can rebuild the trust, we can rebuild connection in our families.
Oh my goodness, I can hear how excited you are. I can definitely tell that you are living out that gift for sure. So, what would be one thing that you would tell families? So, if connection is a skill, how do they start to embrace that, learn it, live it? What is the first step?
So the one thing that we do, we often look at the behavior, but behavior is just the surface problem. It's not the actual problem. Behind every behavior, there is this belief, there is this thought. And this is what it's extremely important because we can see someone, I don't know, just rolling their eyes, right? And we take it as, oh, that's something very disrespectful. But behind that, it could be a lot of things like, I'm not enough or I'm not lovable. And this is where we want to make sure that we really address this. But in order to address it, we need to build that connection. And connection means a lot of things. It's a skill, but it has a lot of different things that are necessary for connection to happen. And I think one of the most important thing is feeling safe, emotionally safe. I don't mean safe in the actual, meaning, but emotionally safe, meaning that we can really speak about our emotions. We can actually be ourselves without being judged, being criticized, being, hearing that we are too much. So that's one of the things. And I think the other piece to it is trust. I trust in what you do. I trust in what you will think. And I feel like teenagers, I feel like the biggest fear it's to really losing connection with parents because of looking for authenticity. And I feel like that's the biggest struggle for them, how to stay authentic, but also being connected to parents and finding that middle. It's a solution for connected family. Like even the fact like this is possible to do in this house. We don't know how we're gonna do it. We don't know, what steps we need to take, but we all want that to be our goal.
Yeah, so for sure, wanting the same thing and wanting that connection and wanting to have that relationship is,
Absolutely.
yeah, a
Yes.
great start.
Intention. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely intention.
yeah, I love that. So you mentioned behind every behavior is a belief. And I'll tell you, coming from like a trauma-informed care perspective, a lot of times what they say is every behind every behavior is an unmet need. And so as you were talking, I was trying to see how to merge those because when you're talking about things like rolling their eyes, right? I'm like, yeah, I don't know that that is an unmet need. But when you started breaking down the beliefs, I'm like, I guess it is, right? Because
Absolutely.
maybe they don't feel safe. Maybe they are internalizing something or hearing something that maybe you're not quite saying. So, when a teen does start doing some of those things, like rolling the eyes, pulling away, getting irritable really easily, we know they can do that. What are they typically trying to communicate? Do you see that there's like an underlying thing that they're trying to communicate, or is it on a person-to-person basis, or what are some general things that you see in your practice?
There's a lot of things. One of the things it could be as easy as I'm feeling something and I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't know how to express. I don't even know how to talk about it, right? It could be I'm feeling something, but I'm ashamed of it. I feel like I am going to be judged. Or a lot of times it's not wanting to disappoint the parents. I'm not going to share that because I know that my parents won't approve it. And the worst thing that could happen to me is losing connection with my parents because deep in their heart, they really want connection. We all are wired for connection. This is something that we all want in our life. That's why it's so hard, when teen go through it, how to keep this connection without completely losing themselves in the relationship, because that could be also the when teens become people pleasers, and this is when they sacrifice who they are for the relationship because that connection is so important to them, or they believe that it's impossible to be authentic and have that connection and with the parents.
So, how can you tell the difference between maybe just some normal behaviors and some behaviors that might be kind of concerning, that maybe the parents need to dig a little bit deeper? There really is something really serious going on.
Well, like on one hand, you can think that there are a lot of like normal, and I don't really think of them in that category. I kind of like all the problems that we see with teens that always comes down for, you know, like if you don't have your needs met at home, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna look for someone else or something else to meet that needs. And that's when behaviors start becoming risky because it's out there and we know there's a lot of things happening out there. That's why it's so important to build that trust inside of our home so there is no need to look for it somewhere else. So I wouldn't really divided into normal or not normal, but I really want to stress that a lot of behaviors that teens are dealing with right now, we can prevent them by really being really intentional about what is happening in our home and what we let our teen to if we let our teen to feel seen, heard, and valued. Because if they meet their needs here, they're not gonna look for it somewhere else. But we all have these needs. So if it's not possible here, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna try to do it somewhere else. And that's where the problem starts, when we get into environments that are not really serving us or are not healthy.
Yeah, for sure. So let's say you have a parent and they have the intention, they want to build the relationship, they want to connect better with their teen, and they want to help their teen, just like you say, feel that, they can trust them and that they're seen and that they're heard. What are the concrete steps? Like, what does a parent have to actually do to help build that trust?
I think they need to start with themselves. What I mean by that, it's really not about what is actually happening, it's how we respond to it. And a lot of times, we as parents, we react to situations with our own emotions, with our own baggage, right? So there's really that moment sometimes when, before we actually do something, taking that extra second to breathe, because within the window we can make a choice that will be serving our kids, or the choice that won't be serving our kids and our connection with them. And that's the window that we definitely want to just kind of pause. A lot of times, you know, as parents, we can take things personally, right? It's about us, or taking things in a wrong way, and really stepping back and really looking, my teen is going through something right now, and getting curious about, like, okay, so what is this that it's happening internally with them? I think that would be, something that can definitely prevent a lot of broken connections.
Yeah, and that would really, I guess, even with being intentional with wanting to build that relationship and then also being intentional with how you respond to certain
Absolutely.
reactions.
Yes, because
Okay.
in order for teens to feel safe, like if you want to be a safe person for the teen, you need to manage your own emotions. And I think that's why teens are so eager to open in front of coaches, because we are not emotionally attached to teens, and we are able to give them space when they actually are able themselves, and we are not, judging them. But it's hard to do it when you are, in relationship with someone and you love that someone, because there's a lot of things that show up for you as well, so that brings some complication to it.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of the adult being able to regulate themselves to respond in a way that's serving their child, do you have a specific regulation tool that you like to teach the teens that you work with?
Yes, I'm thinking about one tool that I really like. It's zoom out 3 layers, and this is a practice that really helps teens separate themselves from the experience. And I call it 3 layers because there are three. The first layer is the body, the second layer it's emotion, and the third layer it's mind. So the first layer, it's about where is it in my body, or what is happening with my body. So I'm encouraging teens to ask this question, like, what is it? Is it my chest? Is it my stomach? So I'm trying to physically locate that part, what's happening there. And that by itself separates us from the sensation. Now, the next one is emotions, right? Like, the teens always say, like, I'm stressed. But behind the stress, there could be a lot of different emotion. What is it right now? Is it anger? Is it shame? Is it fear? And then the third layer, it's your mind, the story that you tell yourself. And a lot of times it could be, I'm scared of losing connection. I'm scared that I'm gonna fail. And just saying that really separate us from that experience. And there are other benefits when we really do these kind of exercise. When you ask ourselves a question, we are moving from this emotional reaction to observing, and right away our nervous system, it's slowing down because of that. It also move us from I am experience to I have an experience, which is definitely like a relief for teen because they don't feel like they're drowning. They are actually like stepping back. And the most beneficial part of this activity is the fact that it's okay that I'm not calm right now, giving yourself permission. And that by itself really relaxes nervous system and helps the teen to get back to the regulated state.
I love that. So observing and with no judgment about that
Absolutely, yes.
observation. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's so helpful. So let's switch to the classroom for a minute because you started as a teacher, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what can a teacher do to help build that connection in their classroom and to become a safe person for the kids in their classroom?
So I think that there are three things that are extremely important for teachers. And first one is really knowing that it doesn't matter what you teach. I used to be a math teacher. That as a teacher, we are doing much more than teaching math. And first thing, our team needs emotional support. And what I mean by that, it's really a lot of things, like creating that environment when students feel safe to make mistakes, well, students feel safe to express their emotions. And that's something that it's kind of like, if you want to be a successful math teacher, you gotta get that piece right in order to see results in your student. Another thing is kind of creating environment when people feel like they don't have to be perfect. The imperfections are welcomed. And I think I did a great job with that. And I was using a lot of times, I originally come from Poland, and when speaking English, sometimes I make some grammar mistakes. And I always tell my students, like, okay, you gotta catch me when I do that. So that's how I'm gonna improve my skill. And just by me being comfortable with my own imperfections and actually making it with something powerful, really give others who are in your environment permission to do the same. For me, it was English, but for others, it's something different. And in this environment, when you see that this is a norm, it really you just kind of like you feel safe. You feel safe to ask questions. You feel safe to share responses because you're not gonna get a feedback that it's negative. That we're gonna build on what you say. We're gonna add something. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that's another thing. And the last thing I would say, kind of giving them permission to be authentic, bringing who they are to the classroom, and really being curious about who they are. Because for me, it wasn't just teaching math, teaching graphing parabolas. It was talk during lunch, right? It was making a phone call to parent and really telling them how amazing they kids are. All little things, the little things matter the most, and it's only not only in the classroom but also at home. We think like the big change, it's always about like one decision that it's huge and we're gonna change our relationship right now. But doesn't work like this. It's about consistency, it's about little steps, and really, showing up for them every single day. And I think that's how you build trust, that's how you build safety, and that's how you build connection with other people.
Oh my goodness, that's so helpful. Thank you. So, is there anything that gives you a lot of concern right now for teens as a group?
So my concern is the pressure that they deal with. And I'm not talking about what we see, the outside pressure, right? The grades and everything else, but what they really go through internally. A lot of kids, you may think like, oh, they're just fine, but they are not. And there are no visible signs. So that's why it's so hard to spot it. And our teens, because of how they are being brought up in days like ours, they're very resilient to, like, they can function when they are dysregulated. They wake up, they go to school, they do whatever they have to do, and it seems like it's everything is fine. But a lot of times, most of the time, it's not fine because of that pressure. And they really feel lonely with this because they are not speaking about it with others. So they feel like they're the only people dealing with all these emotions. And also, they start suppressing their emotions. And because of that, it's not only they lose connection with themselves, but once you don't have connection with yourself, it's just impossible to build connections with others. So that's my biggest concern, that it's not easy to spot a struggling student. And like sometimes these students are extremely successful in school. A lot of students, they have really high grades, they are overachievers, but there is this disconnect. And a lot of times, it doesn't disappear. It just moves with them to young adults, and just the problem becomes bigger and bigger.
So, is there any tricks? I know you said it's difficult, right? That's the biggest concern. It's difficult to identify sometimes. Is there some type of tip to be able to identify, or some type of thing that maybe wouldn't be obvious that an adult could be looking for?
So teen, what they need is that one adult where they feel safe, because that's when they are able to really talk about what's going on internally for them. So if it's a parent, they can open up in front of them. For some of them, it's a coach that they have. And that's why I love this work, because I support moms and parents in general with really helping their kids to connect to themselves. But they definitely need that one person that they can open up.
Yeah. So, is there anything that's giving you hope right now about teens in general?
Yes. What I really love about teens, like we may think that, they're pushing us away, they just want their autonomy. But what I really love about them, it's the fact that they really, really, really need and want connections with others. And this is helpful for me because I feel connection is such a big topic. It's not only, in teens, but in general, between in marriages, in families, in communities. This is such an important thing. So knowing that there is this need and there's this eagerness to actually have this connection just gives me hope for the next generation to really go for it and really learn more and more about, because I feel like our teens are much more emotionally aware than our generation was. I feel like a lot of things that I learned in my 40s, and they have access to all these different knowledge, and they can find a lot of things that we were not even looking for, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. I have a 10-year-old, and all the time I say he's more emotionally intelligent than a lot of adults I know. So I
Absolutely. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
So
I have a
I
7-year-old that is extremely aware. Like
yeah.
she's so cool, like so true to herself, and like she really knows what she needs. She's very specific about what kind of support she needs from me when she's going through difficult time. And I feel like that's so beautiful because it's not only like I'm not shutting down, I'm exploring what works for me, and then I'm actually able to share with others what I need. And I think that's a gift, like really, like because that's exactly, if you know exactly what you need and you are courageous enough to ask for help, there can be only success after that.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, just the generation coming up they'll have that part of it figured out at least. Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that. So can you tell everybody where to connect with you? Maybe a little bit about what it is to work with you and where they can find you.
So you can find me on Facebook. It's just Justyna Bronski, definitely. And then if you want to look at my website to see, what is my offer and how I work with teens, that's justinabronski.com. I work with teens within 3 months. We are working on really It's connection coaching. So it's basically about really getting connected to themselves through 4 pillars, and it's identity, mindset, habits, and emotional regulation. And I also help parents to be that support when the teen goes through their journey, and really helping the parent to be the best, to create the best environment at home, so that transformation that the teen goes through, it's even more powerful.
Yeah, powerful for sure. Well, thank you, Justina, for joining me. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. And I will link all of that information in the show notes so people can just click on your website and your Facebook. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and listening to today's episode on Happier Childhoods. If this conversation encouraged you or made you think, please share it with another person who cares about showing up well for kids. To learn more about how you can bring connection, movement, and mindfulness to families and children in your community, head to playmotionkids.com.